In the last stream, we were working on finishing up our Nether Star automation system with our now much more powerful Wither Skeleton Skull production and our more powerful but still just adequate Soul Sand production, which isn't really so much backing up on Soul Sand, but it is getting the job done. And then right at the end of the last stream, we got started with a very basic Applied Energistics 2 system. We got an ME controller, an ME drive, an ME crafting terminal, and then an ME storage bus to allow us to access all of the items in our storage drawers via the use of the ME crafting terminal. Now, between streams, what I've gone ahead and done is I have expanded the base a little further. I've added one more of these kind of base cube modules to the base. Again, my plan eventually is to have a full ring of 8 of these going all the way around with a little bit of a courtyard area in the middle. But for now, at least, we do have a little bit more space if we need to build some more multi-blocks or big structures like our mob spawning tower over here. And speaking of the mob spawning tower, I've also gone ahead and added a 4th level to this apartment block right here because I have reset up the stasis chamber right there with another wither and this guy right here, the fluid laser base, to allow us to continually gather more ether gas. And the reason for that is that one of the first things that I would like to do in today's stream is I would like to increase our power production. Right now, we're still using our Enderium generator and producing a fairly modest 512 redstone flux per tick, which is doing fine at the moment. But as soon as we get started with Applied Energistics and as soon as we start looking to automate things and start to autocraft, especially with machines, I would like to be able to get these machines to be a lot faster. And if we're going to make them faster, they're going to require more power. And so in order to get more power, I have decided to go with the Nether Star generator. This guy right here, I was scrolling through JEI between streams, and this one caught my eye, the Nether Star mycelial generator from Industrial Foregoing. And to make it, it's actually not too bad. It requires 5 Wither Skeleton Skulls, which we have in abundance, 1 regular Nether Star, we've got a few hundred of them at this point, with 2 redstone, and 1 Supreme Machine Frame. The Supreme Machine Frame, as we've seen before, does require that ether gas. I have made everything else that we need up in here to get that Supreme Machine Frame. The only thing we're missing is about 70 millibuckets of ether gas, and currently, I believe we just saw that we're over 100 millibuckets, I think? Yeah, we got 160. Perfect. So once again, if we grab our tank, extract the ether gas, and then go and place that into our dissolution chamber, we should be able to basically instantaneously here craft up this Nether Star generator, at which point, let me right-click there again, at which point we should have, I think, about 4,000 redstone flux per tick coming in, and I'm fairly certain that we are, for the time being at least, generating more Nether Stars than the generator uses. If we're not, we could make some small tweaks, specifically to our soul sand production here to make it just a little bit faster, but I'm somewhat confident that we should be able to make this work. So if we quickly go ahead and try not to die to those wither explosions, but if we grab some wither skeleton skulls, we can then use our elevator here, head on up to the new rooftop area. We could try and intercept the Nether Stars and just put it here, but I think instead we'll just put it down like so. Boom, and that should be power. Now, there is one slight downside to the Nether Star generator, and that is it does give you the withering effect when you get close. You'll see if I go right up in front of this thing. It's not doing it right now because the thing is fallen and stopped working, but if we quickly craft up a flux plug to allow us to use this power around the base, again, we are going to need 2 lots of the flux cores here because the flux plug does require the flux block, but that should be everything we need for another flux plug. Let's whack that down right about here, if we can get close enough without getting blown up by the wither. And there we go, that should be working. Power should be being extracted. And I think this is going to work pretty well in that, gosh, that wither sound. Okay, another thing that we need to make real quick here. If we go to mob grinding utilities, there is a block called the Wither Muffler. It stops the Wither boss death sounds, and it also has the functionality to allow us to get rid of that Wither boss bar at the top of the screen, which I think is going to be tremendously useful. To make it, we do need some wool, which we can make, of course, using our backlog of string. And once again, we do need one more wither skeleton skull. That is not going to be a problem. Boom. And I don't know if it matters necessarily where we put this down, but I'm going to go ahead and put it down over by the wither. So I'll put it like here. And then wither boss bar is now hidden. So now no longer is the giant bar along the top. And going forward, we should have a nice backlog of power here ready to go should we need it. And you can see there that it does take 2,400 ticks, so about 120 seconds to burn through one nether star. And I am almost certain that currently we are producing nether stars at a faster rate than one every 2 minutes. I'm pretty sure we're producing multiple in that time frame. And so hopefully, for at least today's stream, we should have enough power. And of course, going forward, if we wanted to, we could just put down more of those nether star generators to produce even more power as and when we need it. So now that that's taken care of, if we're going to progress further with Applied Energistics 2, we are going to need a couple of things. Between streams, I have made a bulk batch of printed logic circuits, printed engineering circuits, and printed silicon here. The only thing I haven't made in bulk is the printed calculation circuits, and that's because those require the Certus quartz, and currently we only have a limited amount of Certus quartz. Now, of course, we can make more Certus quartz fairly easily by crafting sand with Certus quartz dust. That gets us the Certus quartz seeds, and then of course we can enrich those using our enrichment chamber over here, and then if we wanted to duplicate them even further, we could then crush them back down into Certus quartz dust and repeat the process to essentially double the amount of Certus quartz crystals that we have over and over and over again. Now, this is where I want to start using more power, because currently, unless we use the time in a bottle, the enrichment chamber here is kind of slow. Like, it takes a while to get just one seed transformed from a Certus quartz seed into a Certus quartz crystal. And thankfully, Mekanism is a very powerful mod that is going to allow us to make this machine right here very, very quick. So the first thing that we can do is we can look at getting the speed upgrades from Mekanism. These guys right here. Now, it's usually best practice to pair these with energy upgrades from Mekanism, because if you don't, the power requirements are going to go crazy real fast. So if we open this up and we click the little upgrade button in the top right, we can install speed, energy, and muffling upgrades into the enrichment chamber. These are the ones that are supported in this machine. And I believe we can put up to 8 speed and energy upgrades in. The more speed upgrades, the faster it'll go, but the more power it will use. And then the more energy upgrades you put in, the less power it will use. But the energy upgrades only offset the speed upgrades, if that makes sense. So if you put in 1 speed upgrades but 8 energy upgrades, 7 of those energy upgrades are not going to be doing anything. The energy upgrades only help to offset the speed upgrades. They don't reduce the energy requirements of the machine on its own. I hope that makes sense. Either way, in order to make these, they're both fairly similar recipes. They're made with 2 infused alloy, 2 glass. The energy upgrade is made with gold dust, and the speed upgrade is made with osmium dust. Gold, of course, we have in abundance thanks to our super fast resource simulator, and osmium we have in less abundance, but we have more than enough to get the job done here. Now, we do need these in dust form, and while there are a few ways that we could do this, given that we are going to want to start crushing these Certus quartz crystals into Certus quartz dust in order to be able to duplicate the number of Certus quartz crystals that we have, hopefully very quickly, I think it's going to be best if we get the crusher from Mekanism, which really shouldn't be too difficult. All we're missing here is 2 basic control circuits and a steel casing. The steel casing, now thankfully much easier to make with the metallurgic infuser. We need a block of steel and some redstone. Steel, again, we don't have, and again, the metallurgic infuser is another one of those machines that we could definitely do with upgrading here, because whilst it does do the job, again, right now it's pretty slow. So we need 18 coal and we need 9 iron. For now, I will use the time in a bottle here to make this bearably fast. We can then run that back through again. And once we have the 9 steel dust, we can run that through our furnace here. We can then craft that into a block, and I believe it just needed some redstone. It does. We need 10 millibuckets, which I think is just 1 piece of redstone. It is indeed. Boom. And boom. We have our steel casing. That is almost everything. We need the basic control circuit, which is osmium and redstone. And at that point, the only thing we're missing is 2 buckets of lava, which I'm going to assume we probably don't have down here. Oh, we do. Nice. Cool. So maybe this is backed up. Oh, no, actually, the quarry is turned off, right? We used it in the last episode to acquire diamonds. And I don't really think we're going to have to turn the quarry back on, at least not for kind of mass mining going forward, now that we have the digital resource simulator. Either way, crusher, boom, and boom. And again, I do want a better location for these, but for now I am going to put it here. And we can now look at hopefully getting some crushed gold. And you'll see we are running out of power here. That is a bottleneck of the energy pipe. The energy pipe can only pull out 256 redstone flux per tick without any of the pipe upgrades installed. Thankfully, the very basic pipe upgrade is super easy to make, and I think this will increase it beyond, yeah, up to 1024, which is beyond the current output of the Enderium generator. We'll do the same here with osmium as well. We'll get 32 osmium dust. There we go, fantastic. Then we can put in some redstone and some iron in the metallurgic infuser. Again, give that a little bit of a helping hand with its speed there. We've also smelted up some glass. And once we have all of the pieces together, we should be able to start making the speed upgrades here, which should allow us to hopefully make these machines a lot faster without the need for the time in a bottle. Because although the time in a bottle is good, we are very quickly starting to burn through our time here. We're down to just 10 hours, which is a lot, but we can burn through that very quickly if we keep, 32xing our machine every single time that we want to use it. So let's go ahead and make 8 of these. And let's also go ahead and make 8 of the energy upgrades as well. This alone is going to be a huge boost to our machine's speed. So you can put these in via the energy upgrade tab. Just put them in the slot like so. You can also just do them by shift right clicking on the machine from the outside as well. And once both of these are in, this should now be significantly faster at producing Certus quartz crystals. But we can take this yet further. Mekanism also adds the tier installers. These guys right here, the basic tier, advanced tier, elite tier, and ultimate tier, and we can use these to transform our machines into factories that are going to be able to produce, or that are going to be able to process multiple of the Certus quartz seeds at the same time. So again, here we do need more basic control circuits. You can move the energy and speed upgrades around. Just click uninstall, and then we can go and shift right click them into the metallurgic infuser. So now our metallurgic infuser much faster. Once we have a basic control circuit, we should have everything to make the basic tier installer. And if you just shift right click this onto almost any Mekanism machine, it's going to transform that Mekanism machine into a basic factory. So right here, we have our basic enriching factory. Again, we can grab our speed and energy upgrades, drop both of those in, boom, and boom. And so now, if we were to grab some more sand from our Stoneworks factory, and we craft that up with our Certus quartz dust, we can get, let's say, a stack of Certus quartz seeds, put those in, and so long as we have auto sort on, it's going to automatically distribute this stack of seeds amongst all 3 slots, and it's going to process all 3 of them at the same time. Pretty cool stuff. Again, we can take this further. If we upgrade it to the advanced tier installer, you do have to go through each one, by the way. You have to make the basic before you can do the advanced, and the advanced before the elite. You can't just jump straight to a higher tier. You have to go through each one. But if we go to advanced, that's going to give us 5 slots. If we go to elite, it's going to give us 7. And I believe ultimate takes us all the way up to 9 slots of enriching goodness, all at the same time and all at the exact same speed as these ones right here with the 8 speed and energy upgrades. So it is going to be a little expensive here. If we want to get the advanced tier installer, this one's not too bad. It just requires a bunch of the infused alloys, which we actually have. We can then use those to upgrade our basic control circuit to an advanced control circuit, at which point we should have, I think, everything to make the advanced tier installer. We do indeed. Fantastic. And then if we want to go further, it gets a little bit pricier. These elite control circuits and reinforced alloys require the previous tiers, those being the advanced alloys and regular old infused alloys, but this time we have to craft them with diamond. We need to take the infused alloys, which we could definitely do with more of. And again, I probably made a mistake here by upgrading the enriching factory first. We probably should have upgraded the metallurgic infuser first and made this into a factory. Speaking of which, let's get 2 more of these. We can then make, again, the basic installer. upgrade that to the advanced. And so now that this is upgraded, let's go ahead and drop in some more redstone. Now, what we've not been doing up until now is enriching our redstone. So currently, if we put one piece of redstone into the infusing factory here, it translates to 1 millibucket of redstone liquid in this bar here, which I believe is just 1 alloy. It is, yeah, that used 1 redstone. It used 10 millibuckets. However, if we first enrich our redstone, it's going to happen slowly. But once we have that enriched redstone, if we put that in here, instead of giving us 10 millibuckets, I believe it gives us 80. Yeah, so you can effectively make your redstone 8 times more efficient by first running it through the enriching factory here. So I think it is going to be worth us making another batch of speed and energy upgrades, and then trying to use the enriching factory here to process all of our redstone into enriched redstone so that we can then effectively just use less of it to create all of the infused alloys that we're going to need to upgrade these machines even further. We are starting to get to the point now where even the full 512 redstone flux per tick from the Enderium generator here isn't enough to run this at full speed, and so what we can do very quickly is just craft up yet another Eye of Ender, yet another flux core. This is the kind of thing that hopefully fairly soon we can automate with applied energistics too, but that's going to get us a flux point, at which point we can probably get rid of the Enderium generator. Just to be safe, I am going to keep it, and I'm going to use a regular non-Tinker's pickaxe so that we don't lose it when we break it, and we can instead just go ahead and replace that with a flux point. Boom and boom, because this, of course, has access to the full 4,000 redstone flux per tick that we're now generating from our Nether star generator. So let's give this a go now. If we take a stack of iron and put that in here, this is using 1,000 redstone flux per tick, which is a lot, but it is working and it is producing these infused alloys very quickly. Once we have a good amount of infused alloy and basic control circuits, we can then do the same thing with the diamonds. We don't really need to because we have so many of them, but if you had fewer diamonds available to you, you can enrich the diamonds and then use the enriched diamond instead of just dropping a stack of diamonds into this bottom slot here to get 8x the amount of diamond in millibucket form in the infusing factory. Given that we have 50,000 diamonds in our system and the ability to make infinite of them at a moment's notice, I'm just going to go ahead and dump the full stack in. Never mind, I completely forgot, you actually have to infuse the diamonds with the factory. So unlike the redstone or the coal that you can just dump in to the yellow slot, with diamonds you actually have to go through the process of enriching it first. So let's quickly see if we can't make some more of the speed and energy upgrades here now that we have some more infused alloy. Again, ideally we'd want 8 of both of these. And then let's see how much power the infusing factory uses when it's fully upgraded. Another 1,000 redstone flux per tick. So you can see here how just having maybe 4 Mekanism machines that are not even fully upgraded, this is only the advanced tier, this is tier 2 of 4, but you can see how we're very quickly going to hit the limit even of our new 4,000 redstone flux per tick. Now, these do have a buffer, so they do hold a few 100,000 redstone flux in storage, and I doubt we're going to have them all running maxed out at the same time all the time, but I do think that very shortly we are going to have to upgrade our power even further. For now, though, we can put some diamond into the infusing factory, and then we can drop in some of our infused alloys. That's going to get us these reinforced alloys, at which point we can take those, we can go back to the tier installers, and we should be able to craft up a few elite control circuits. Let's go for 4 of these if we can. Then we should have everything we need to make 2 of these elite tier installers, at which point, boom and boom, we can upgrade these even further. They can now do 7 items at a time, and if we wanted to push this all the way to the fastest, highest possible tier, the ultimate tier installer, in order to do that, we need 4 atomic alloys and 4 ultimate control circuits. The ultimate control circuits, again, made using the atomic alloys. To do this, we take, again, the previous tier, in this case, the reinforced alloy, and we combine that with refined obsidian. So the refined obsidian, in this case, is made, again, in the metallurgic infuser with diamond and obsidian dust, and the obsidian dust we can get by running regular obsidian through the enrichment chamber. We don't have a ton of obsidian. However, you do get quite a bit for every obsidian you put in, and of course, if we need more, we can always head through to the Nether. and just mine up a bunch more obsidian and then bring it back through to the overworld here. Although we definitely could do with looking at setting up an automated obsidian producer at some point fairly soon, so we don't have to keep going back to the Nether every single time we need just a little bit of obsidian. And a bit more infusing later. Can we put this directly in? We can. Again, it's probably well worth infusing some of this ahead of time just to make it more efficient. We can then drop some of these in here, drop some of the reinforced alloys in our top slots. That's going to get us a bunch of atomic alloys, and I think 12 of them is probably going to be enough to make 2 of the ultimate tier installers here. So right from the start, let's make... I have no idea where the music came from, but sure, why not? Let's make 4 advanced. We'll then upgrade those to 4 elites. And then finally to 4 ultimate. At which point we can then hopefully craft up 2 of these ultimate tier installers. Almost. We're just missing a few more of the atomic alloys, which should be fine. And boom. So now we can shift right click, and we have effectively created the fastest infusing factory and the fastest enriching factory that money can buy. So time to put this to the test. If we grab 2 stacks of sand and we craft that up with all of the Certus quartz dust that we have, let's go ahead and make a few stacks of Certus quartz seeds. Let's drop those into the enriching factory, and you can see that now we're using almost 2,000 redstone flux per tick just on this one machine, but we are now able to make these Certus quartz crystals incredibly quickly. And real quick, I think what I will do is upgrade the crusher here with the speed upgrades, with the energy upgrades, and also with one of the ultimate tier installers to try and make that just as fast, at which point we should then be able to take the Certus quartz crystals that we get, crush them back into Certus quartz dust, and then repeat the process with even more sand to get us even more Certus quartz crystals. While I do that, I'm also going to go ahead and drop the calculation press back in here with at least 1 stack of Certus quartz crystals so that we can passively get a stack of printed calculation circuits to go along with our printed engineering and printed logic circuits. Energy, speed, and tiers 1, 2, 3, and 4. There we go. We have the ultimate crushing factory ready to go. Let's crush some Certus quartz with auto sort on. This is limited now, again, by the energy pipe, because this can only extract a small amount of redstone flux per tick. That is because the pipe upgrade does pop out whenever you break what's on top of it. So when I got rid of the Enderium generator, the pipe upgrade popped out there. I think, by the way, that some mobs are just spawning with like musical backpacks on potentially, which is why we occasionally get a little burst of music in our lives. But either way, let's do this. That's going to increase the transfer rate of the energy pipe to 8,192 FE, which is more than enough for the, again, I assume about 2,000 FE that this is using. And so now, going forward, the bottleneck now is our sand production, which is already quite quick. We can do this, we can do this, we can take all of those, and we have essentially made the process of making not just Certus quartz crystals, but also, don't forget, the Fluix crystals, these ones here, much, much quicker. The Fluix crystals are maybe a little bit more important, because right now we're making those by dropping redstone, charged Certus quartz, and nether quartz into a pool of water every single time we want Fluix dust. So hopefully for the last time here, let's do boom, boom, boom. Drop all 3 of those into the pond. That's going to make us a little bit of Fluix dust. But now, hopefully, much like with the Certus quartz, going forward, we should be able to just take some of our sand, which ideally at some point in the near future, we're going to connect to our system so we don't have to keep flying over here to get it. But we can take it, craft it into seeds, use our enriching factory to very quickly process those into crystals, use our crushing factory to turn those back into even more dust, and then repeat that process until we have more than enough Fluix crystals and/or Fluix dust. All right, so now that's taken care of, there is one more machine we could make, and that is the smelting factory, which would of course allow us to smelt things like glass here much, much faster as well, in very much the same way as the enriching factory and the crushing factory are doing. However, I don't think that the ultimate smelting factory with 8 speed and 8 energy upgrades is the fastest furnace in the game. For that, I think we might have to look towards the Rainbow Furnace from the Iron Furnaces mod. This one is a little pricey, but honestly not too bad. In order to make it, we need 8 rainbow plating. To make the 8 rainbow plating, you just craft together one of almost every furnace from the Iron Furnaces mod. 1 iron, 1 gold, 1 diamond, emerald, obsidian, crystal, copper, and silver. The only problem here actually is emeralds, right? Because we still don't have a good supply of emeralds. We have a few of them that we've managed to create using our chemistry, but we don't have an infinite supply of them. The Twitch chat has remembered or has pointed out that we do still have the Amadron tablet here. So it's possible that if we get some coal, which we have a large amount of, and we drop this in here, I'm going to put a lot in. I assume there's going to be a limit to how many of the trades we can do, but there is an offer down here to trade coal for emeralds. I assume 16 is the maximum. Vendor has 16 trades in stock, yeah. So we can get 16 emeralds here. 15, 16. Place order. So he's going to come and take all the coal he wants there, and he's going to give us 16 emeralds, which is, I guess, a pretty good start. You know what? That might actually be fine. I think what we'll do is we'll take the 16 that we get here, because that's actually the perfect number to make 2 emerald furnaces. And then what I think I'll probably do between streams is just try and grind out more emeralds the old-fashioned way, because we can do it this way with the combiner. You know, we can take our lapis, turn it into prismarine, break the prismarine down, get the beryl, combine that with the vanadium and the chromium, and get emeralds. And so I'll try and get 72 emeralds between streams, utilizing the combiner. For the time being, though, I think we should have enough emeralds to make the rainbow furnace. So real quick, let's craft up 8 iron furnaces after we craft up 8 regular furnaces. We'll then craft 8 iron ones, and then we'll leave one of these in iron form and craft them all into gold. I've cleared my inventory a bit here, but we have the iron furnace, we have the gold furnace. We can use our pre-existing diamond furnace, so we definitely didn't need to make this many of them, but that's fine. We'll then make all of these into diamond furnaces. We might need a little bit more glass, although I have just gotten rid of our furnace. So let's see how far we can get. I guess we'll upgrade and we'll make 1 emerald furnace, which I think is all that we're going to need. The obsidian furnace here can be made with a crystal furnace, which is just an upgraded diamond furnace, so that should be fine. We are, however, going to need quite a few blaze rods. Now, I honestly think the easiest... I don't think we have any molten cores. I will check real quick over in here. We do not. I assume we get those via blazes. Like, I assume that it's only blazes that drop those. But we are going to need quite a few blaze rods. So I think we're either going to have to go through to the Nether. Actually, yeah. No, this should be fine, actually. If we grab our temp pad, which is in the AE2 system, we should be able to go back to spawn. That's going to allow us to go through this Nether portal. And I'm fairly certain that there is a Nether fortress nearby here. I think we went over this kind of bridge here. We went over in this direction. I think there's a Nether fortress fairly close by. If there is, we can go ahead and steal one of the blaze spawners from there using the cardboard box that we crafted previously, and we could just temporarily bring that home, replace the wither skeleton spawner temporarily, and that's going to allow us to get hopefully a staggering number of blaze rods very quickly. So he is captured. We can then do a quick /home. And if we go and grab the second cardboard box here, I made a second one of these by accident because the first one got sucked up by the absorption hopper and I didn't know where it had gone. But if we go and pick up the wither skeleton spawner, we can then replace that with our blaze spawner. Again, we could do the same thing here where we could upgrade it to be even faster than it is by default, but I'm hopeful that that's not really necessary. There we go. There's our first blaze. And that one blaze... Also, let me add leather boots to the downward filter here, because, geez, there are a lot of leather boots in there. And then we'll do the same with iron boots and iron helmets. Yeah, there's so much stuff that we still need to add to the filters. And we'll do the same with iron leggings and all these extra little bits as well. We'll put you in, and hopefully that's a little clearer. But that's already gotten us 17 blaze rods. I don't think... That might not be quite enough, but it's definitely going to be close, and I think by the time that we need more blaze rods, we should hopefully have a few more from that spawner as well. So, where were we? We have iron, we have gold, we have diamond, we have emerald. What else do we need here? We need obsidian, crystal, copper, easily done, and then right at the bottom there we need silver, which is also fairly easily done. Let me temporarily throw down the emerald furnace here so we can smelt up a bit of glass to get us through this craft. Okay, that should be enough glass. Let's grab that emerald furnace, and where were we? We were making the silver furnace. This one right here, fantastic. And so now we need an obsidian furnace, which we're going to make with the crystal furnace to save on emeralds. So we'll make a couple of Eyes of Ender here. We'll make a crystal furnace from one of our diamond furnaces. Then we'll make the obsidian furnace from the crystal furnace. And then at that point, are we good to go? We're not. We're missing. Oh, it says we're missing a crystal, which makes sense. We did just use our crystal. So we'll make another one of those. But then at that point, we have emerald. I don't know why that didn't go in. I thought we had a spare iron furnace, but I guess we used it. That is fine. We can make one more. And that should be everything for the rainbow plating. It is. Nice. So next up is the rainbow core. And to make this, we need 2 netherite furnaces. So again, we're going to have to go through the whole chain here. We do have 2 diamond furnaces left. That's perfect. We can upgrade both of those to crystal furnaces. And then we can upgrade both of those to obsidian furnaces if we have enough blaze rods, which we totally do. Fantastic. And from there, we should be able to upgrade both of those to netherite furnaces. We just need some magma creams, which should not be a problem. We've got a ton of slime, and we should have at least 6 blaze powder, he says, when they have nowhere near 6 blaze powder. That is fine. We can, of course, just craft our blaze rods into blaze powder, and then from there, that should be everything to make 6 magma creams. And once we have those 6 magma creams, that should be everything for 2 netherite furnaces, 1 and 2. And now the only thing left to do here is make the glass. So we need 1 red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple, and magenta stained glass. We already have red. Fantastic. Blue is easy enough. That's done. Next up, stuff like purple should also be fairly easy. It's just blue and red. If we have no beets lying around, we can use our tempad here to head back through to spawn. We could move the beet farm over to our new base, but I quite like heading back to spawn every once in a while just to get a couple of beets. Let's craft those into red dye. Do a quick /home. That gets us the purple dye. We then also need magenta, which is red, blue, and pink, or just purple and pink, pink being red and white being obtainable from bone meal. So let's get the pink and then craft that with the purple to get us magenta. Then we need green, which is just cactus green. That's done. Easy. We might as well go ahead and make the purple and the pink. We are, of course, out of glass. That's fine. We do have 2 netherite furnaces here. Temporarily, we'll throw one down like that, and we'll drop all of our sand in. Look at that. Even without the time in a bottle, that thing's already fast. If we time in a bottle, it is insanely fast. You'll love to see it. So now it's just yellow and orange. And orange is just red and yellow. So it's just yellow that we need. So the yellow dye is lead iodide. Do we have any lead iodide lying around? We don't, but this should be fine because we have iodine in the system. And I would assume that if logic holds true in the world, that we can dissolve lead into lead. Never mind, that would be far, far too easy. Can we? How in the world do we get lead? So raw lead can be processed into iodide, and lead plates can also be processed into iodide, as can lead dust. Can I crush this into lead dust? Or is this a different lead dust? That totally works. Nice, lovely. Okay, never mind. Lead, iodide. Let's combine lead and iodine. We can then put that lead iodine in the compactor, and boom, we have some yellow dye. Let's combine yellow with red to make the orange. And then at that point, chat, I think we are finally there. Let's make one set of orange dye, one set of yellow dye, craft all of those glasses with the netherite furnaces. Of course, we do need this one right here. Let's go ahead, craft all of those up to make the rainbow core. And if we craft the rainbow core with all of the rainbow plating, we can make the rainbow furnace. Let's go ahead, slap that down right about here. I do believe we can put the speed augment into the rainbow furnace to make it even faster than before. And then there's even, I've not tried this in the new versions of iron furnaces, but there is a factory augment that allows you to turn the furnace into a kind of mechanism style factory block like this here. I have tried this before, but I've not tried it on this furnace. So the furnace by default, let's go grab some sand here to give this a test. If we put sand in here, it's insanely fast. It's going to smelt a full stack at a time. You'll love to see it. But if we put the factory augment in, that's going to turn the rainbow furnace into a factory that does require power. So we are going to have to make another energy pipe, or grab an energy pipe and run that along like so. But in theory now, this should be able to smelt, I think, 6 stacks of items at a time. I think the easiest way for us to test that is going to be with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 stacks of cobblestone, just because we don't really have 6 stacks of anything else to test here. I have no idea how much power this is going to use, but let's give this a try. Look at that. Look at that. The power didn't even budge there. I assume it used a lot, but my goodness, that is 6 stacks of items that we can smelt maybe per second. It did not take long at all to smelt that. Auto sort is available here as well. You could turn that on. And so now, if we want, we could just take like a stack of cobblestone, drop that in, and it'll just disperse them and smelt them. It seems like dispersing them is actually slower, so I'm going to turn that off. But this is now an insanely fast furnace that is going to allow us to smelt things incredibly quickly going forward. So now that that's taken care of, and now that we have a faster array of machines to work with, I'm not quite sure about the particle effects coming out of the rainbow furnace here. It does scare me a little bit. But let's head back to the comparatively much slower inscriber here, and let's go ahead and craft quite a lot of at least engineering and logic processes. I don't think we're going to need a ton of calculation processes, but I'll make a few of those as well. Okay, so we've made a few engineering and logic processes here. Let's make maybe 1 or 2 of the calculation processes, but I want to start looking at AE2 autocrafting. So the way that we autocraft with Applied Energistics 2 is via a few blocks. We need the molecular assembler. This right here is kind of the heart of AE2 autocrafting. It's where all of the AE2 autocrafting is done, but it doesn't work alone. We need to get a pattern terminal. That is this one right here, the pattern encoding terminal, because in order to actually use the molecular assembler, we have to give it a pattern. That is this pattern right here. We'll bookmark that as well. So the pattern encoder is not too difficult. It's another ME crafting terminal, which should be fairly easy for us to do here. We need one more formation call, one more annihilation call. We should have some Fluix crystals ready to go. We do. Let's quickly, and by quickly I mean very quickly, crush some of those Fluix crystals into Fluix dust, because a few of the recipes here do require the Fluix crystals in dust form, like the annihilation cores, and then the formation cores. Boom. At that point, we should be able to make ourselves, I think, the actual terminal, because I thought that the illumination panel, oh, of course. So the problem we're running into here, chat, is that some of our stuff is in the ME crafting terminal, and some of our stuff is in these chests. And these chests are currently not connected to our Applied Energistics 2 system. So occasionally, some of our items are not going to quite be in here. That should be easily fixable by just crafting up a few more of these item storage cells, at which point we can then move all of the stuff out of these drawers into our Applied Energistics 2 system. For now, though, we need a regular crafting table, and we need one calculation processor, which we should have over here. We do indeed. Let's grab all of those processors, not including the logic circuits, because those are pretty useless in their non-processor form. Let's craft another ME crafting terminal and upgrade that to the pattern terminal, which for the time being, we can put right about here. Again, not a permanent place. None of the AE2 stuff here is permanent, but as a proof of concept, it is down. So in here, what we can do is we can get a pattern, which is made with 3 glowstone, 2 quartz glass, 1 Certus quartz crystal, and 3 iron. let's make some more quartz glass and get a few patterns here. The patterns go in the encoding terminal, and they go in this slot right here, and this is going to allow us to teach the system how to craft. So basically, let's go with a really simple recipe. Let's try and teach the system how to turn oak logs into planks. Let's put some oak logs in the system, and if we then take one oak log and put it in here, this is the recipe for making planks. We click encode, and now this disk right here knows that we can craft oak planks from oak logs. Nice. Now, in order to actually make it so the system can do it, we need a molecular assembler. This requires another formation and annihilation core with some more glass, some more iron, and a crafting table, and boom. Now, we can put this down anywhere. You can also connect it up with cable. You'll know it's working when it starts flashing like a rainbow. And I believe what we can do here is you can just put one pattern into the molecular assembler, and this should work. Now, in order to actually craft with AE2, we do need a crafting storage. So this is where things get a little bit different to what you might be used to if you've played with something like refined storage. The crafting CPU here is not too difficult. It does need, however, another calculation processor, which is more calculation processors than I thought we'd need today, but thankfully they are fairly quick to come through. That's going to allow us to make the 1K crafting storage just as soon as we get some more Fluix cable. There's the crafting unit, and then to craft it into a crafting storage, we need another crafting cell, another 1K ME storage component, boom, and boom. Much like with the storage cells, you can make 1K, 4K, 16K, and 64K, and even 256K crafting storages. Those higher capacity storages will come in useful in the future. For now, though, we can place this down, again, really anywhere on the system. For now, I'll put it down right about here. And at that point, it's still not showing the recipe here. So it looks like this has changed a little bit since I last played it. This does work in that you can put logs in and it will craft them into planks. That's not entirely useful though. And so instead, if we want to actually be able to request wood from the system, we are going to need what is known as a pattern provider. This guy right here, which I believe is new, at least to newer versions of AE2. So in order to make that, we are again somehow out of Fluix dust. And by somehow out of Fluix dust, I mean our Fluix dust is probably in the system here. So let's do 2 of you and 2 of you, at which point the actual ME pattern provider here is not too expensive to make. And essentially what we can do is we can put that down on the molecular assembler. So if we put this down really anywhere on the molecular assembler will work. That's probably not the best place. And just to prove the concept here, let's go ahead and put the molecular assembler here, and let's put the pattern provider here. So these are all connected to the system. And what we can do now is we can place our crafting pattern that knows how to turn oak logs into oak planks into the ME pattern provider. And now if we come over here and we go to craftable, we can see that the system knows how to craft oak planks. Right now, we do have a lot of oak planks in the system, but that little plus in the top left means that we can craft these. So if you want to craft something, but you already have some in the system, there are 2 ways you can go about doing this. The more difficult way is that you can take all of the planks out, and then once we've taken all of the planks out, like so, we can then click on it and select how many we want to be crafted. But if you don't want to do that, which is understandable because it's a pain in the backside, instead, you can just middle mouse click on the item you want to craft. So here, because we have that little plus icon, we can hit the middle mouse button and it will ask us how many oak planks we want to craft. Let's say we want to craft 100, next, and start. As soon as we hit start, it's going to start the craft. Now, real quick, at the top here, you can see that it says crafting plan, 166 bytes used. Now, this is important because the bigger the craft is, the more bytes it's going to use, and the bigger crafting storage you're going to need. So for every craft you want to do, you need a crafting CPU, which is this guy right here, available to handle that craft, and you need one that is the right size. So if I wanted to craft, let's say, maybe 10,000 of these, next, you'll see this requires 15,000 bytes. So it says no crafting CPUs are available because we don't have any that can handle 15,000 bytes. We also don't have the wood for it, but if we did have the wood for it, we would need a bigger crafting storage. Now, there are 2 things you can do here. One is you can make a bigger crafting storage. Of course, there is a 16K crafting storage available that would be able to handle this, but you can also put multiple crafting storages next to each other to make one bigger CPU. So for example, if I was to make another 1K crafting storage here and put it down next to this pre-existing crafting storage, that would form one multi-block CPU that is then effectively a 2K crafting storage, if that makes sense. For now, though, if we type in oak, and let's say we go ahead and request that 100, next, and start, it's then going to start sending those oak logs to the molecular assembler, crafting them into oak planks, and then placing those oak planks back into the system. Pretty cool stuff. And if we open the crafting storage here, you can see this is where the craft is taking place. And if at any point you wanted to cancel the craft, you would have to go to the crafting storage or the crafting CPU that is responsible for that craft and hit cancel. Somebody asked, would the additional crafting storage use another channel? I don't think so, but I could be wrong on that. I think that the multi-block CPU counts as one channel, but that could be not the case. Speaking of channels, we didn't really mention channels in the last episode. So AE2 has a channel system that limits the number of blocks that you can connect to one side of a controller. And the easiest way to show this off is via a smart cable. So the smart cable is this one right here. Again, there are multiple colors that you can make. But to make a smart cable, we need one glowstone, one redstone, and one Fluix ME covered cable, which is just a regular cable covered with some wool. Wool we can make. Again, we just need some string. I'm going to make a stack of wool here just so we have it ready to go should we need it. And then we can just craft this up and then craft that into a smart cable. But if we put the smart cable down, like so, you'll see in the top left, it currently says 0 channels. If we put down the crafting storage, you'll see that it now says 1 channel. Now, by default, the ME controller has 8 channels available on each side if you are using regular Fluix cable. That's this cable here, or the regular smart cable. You can upgrade to dense cable, which is this stuff here. There is the regular ME dense cable, and then there is the smart dense cable. Dense cable can carry up to 32 channels per side of the controller. So going forward, if you want to add more than 8 things to any one side, you're going to need to get either a dense cable or just connect up to a different side of the controller. For example, if we were to go ahead and just move this over to here, and then put the flux point back down and put the smart cable here, we can see that on this side of the controller, we're using 5 channels at the top left there. That's 1 for the disk drive, 1 for each of these terminals, that's 3 in total, then 1 for this guy up here, that's 4, and then this here counts as 1 unit as well, that's 5. So people were asking if adding a second crafting storage to the same CPU uses another channel. I don't think it does. If I make another one of these crafting storages here, which we should be able to do fairly easily, I think we are going to need 2 more, calculation processes. That is completely fine. Let's do one of these, and another one of those. Boom, and boom. Putting this down here connects those 2 together. So these now act as one multi-block crafting CPU. So again, if we go ahead and move this back over, this is indeed just using 1 channel, whereas if we broke this and put it down here, these are now 2 separate CPUs, and so if we look now, it's using 2 channels. The reason you'd want more than 1 CPU is if you wanted to do more than 1 craft at a time, because you need to have 1 crafting storage available for every craft you want to do, right? Because if we were to request some wood, that wood would then be made using this crafting storage and this molecular assembler, but then if we wanted to do another craft at the same time, we would then need a second crafting storage in order to be able to do that second craft, right? If we want to do a completely different craft in parallel with that initial craft, we would need more than 1 crafting storage, and again, that second crafting storage would have to be big enough to get the job done. Now, there are a few ways you can upgrade the crafting CPU. When I say CPU, by the way, I'm referring to the multi-block structure that includes the crafting storage, because sometimes it's more than 1 crafting storage device, and sometimes it's also different devices. For example, there is the co-processing unit, this guy right here. The crafting co-processing unit allows you to craft with multiple molecular assemblers at the same time. So if I go ahead and see if we can't make 1 or 2 more molecular assemblers, by default, if you don't have a crafting co-processing unit, if you do something like this, the ME pattern provider will only use 1 of the molecular assemblers. It might use more than 1 of them, but it'll only use 1 at a time. So if I was to once again request, let's say, another 100 oak, start, and start, you'll see here that it uses all 3 of them, but it only ever uses 1 at a time, right? Which is a little bit faster than just using 1, but it's not really faster because you're still only ever using 1 of them at any given time. Whereas if we go ahead and get a crafting co-processing unit, and we put that down over here, this CPU storage now, we'll get rid of this one temporarily, but this one here is now able to use 2 of these at the same time. So it's not perfect. You can use more than 1 crafting co-processing unit because you can put up to 6 of these molecular assemblers around one ME pattern provider. And essentially, if you wanted to be able to use 6 molecular assemblers at a time for really fast crafting, you would have to have a crafting storage with 5 crafting co-processing units. Because again, now if I request even more oak here, we'll do 100, and next, try that again, 100, next, start. Now it's going to go 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. So it can use 2 at the same time, but it can't use all 3. But if we were to make yet another one of these crafting co-processing units, boom, there's our second one. Let's drop that down over here. So now the one crafting storage is able to use one of these, and the extra 2 co-processing units should mean, in theory, that now this can use all 3 of them at the same time. Next, and start. And there we go. Look at that. 3, 3, 3, 3. So now it's crafting 3 times as fast as it was initially with the one molecular assembler. You can do the opposite of this as well, by the way, because by default, the ME pattern terminal here only has, I think it's 9 slots. Yeah, 9 slots for patterns. If you want more patterns, you can do one of 2 things. You can make another pattern provider and then surround that with molecular assemblers again. Alternatively, you can have one molecular assembler that you then surround with pattern providers, right? So instead of having it set up like this, you can have one molecular assembler and then put 6 pattern providers around it. That would give you a total of 54 patterns, but it would be slower because each of those pattern providers would all be trying to use the same molecular assembler, which is upgradable. You can put acceleration cards in here to make this faster, but is not super fast. The alternative and faster way of doing things is having multiple ME pattern providers all surrounded with molecular assemblers, all using CPUs that have co-processing units to make them as fast as possible. On top of that, you can also take the ME pattern providers and place them onto machines like the Ultimate Enriching Factory here, and that's going to allow the AE2 system to, for example, smelt things. So if we were to take the Rainbow Furnace, and let's say we drop that down somewhere over here, let's put it like here for now, and then let's steal the pattern provider. We'll place that down on top like this. Now, I believe that you might have to use a wrench to rotate this until it points down. You can see there's a very faint arrow there on the top. But once it's pointing down at the furnace, you know you're good to go. So this furnace right now is going to use fuel just because it's not connected to power, but obviously in the future, we can imagine this would be connected to power. So let's say that instead of making planks, we wanted to teach our system how to make sand. We could go over to the pattern terminal. This time, we want to click the button in the top right here that changes it from crafting pattern to processing pattern. Once we've done that, we can put in 1 sand and 1 glass, click encode, and now we've taught this pattern that if you send 1 sand, you will get back 1 glass. So we can put that pattern in here, like so, and if we were to now go ahead and request a glass, or let's say 10 glass, start, it's going to go ahead and send that 10 glass over to the Rainbow Furnace. And with the Rainbow Furnace, if we set the top to be input and output, which is blue and orange there, you can kind of see in the top left, it's a little bit off the screen, but then we can turn auto output on, auto input on, and that should, in theory, auto output on. There we go, send the glass back through into the system. And we now have an automatic way of making glass. So again, if I put all 46 in here and I say, give me 46 glass, next, and start, it's going to send all this end over, it's going to smelt that into glass, and it's going to come right back through to the system. You could see there that the bottleneck was actually how fast the pattern provider could put items into the Rainbow Furnace. I don't know if there's a way to make that faster, like a way to make it send a stack of items at a time as opposed to a few. It's quite possible there is a way to do that, but that is a problem for future Isaac, because for now, we're going to have to go ahead and wrap up this episode of Encrypted there. Next time, we'll come back. Hopefully, between streams, I will move some of the AE2 stuff here. I'll try and organize it a little bit so it doesn't look quite so janky. We'll maybe run some cabling to try and get the crafting storages and whatnot over in their own room, because we are starting to clog up this main room quite a bit. We might look at getting into something like XNet, which is going to make it a lot easier for us to power all of our machines without having them just slapped on a wall like this. And we'll also probably look at getting into lazier AE2, because that's going to allow us to use the advanced describer, which is going to allow us to make these processes much faster going forward. But again, unfortunately, we are now out of time for this episode of Encrypted.